Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content's Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. We're focusing on Tobago, specifically the Tobago People's Party, which was launched on Sunday at Milford Road in Scarborough. Well, I'm joined this morning by a member of the TPP as well as the Deputy Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Dr. Faith B. Israel. She holds other roles, but those are the two most prominent at this time. Good morning, Dr. B. Israel. How are you?
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining me this morning, Dr. B. Israel. Is it that after so long, this party has been launched, much anticipated, of course, by the public, trying to figure out exactly what was taking place in Tobago, and now we do have an answer. However, is it that the TPP has taken a position that it is going to execute the mandate that was basically pushed under the umbrella of the PDP without the public really voting or sharing their opinion?
Well, the public did vote. The public voted for the individuals who are part of the executive. As a matter of fact, the only person who separated themselves from the mandate that the people gave those of us who are in the executive is the political leader of the PDP. And let me explain why I say mandate. While we were campaigning, we actually made it our mission to ensure that we did not provide a manifesto, which is what political parties say they will do for people. We decided that we were going to go the other route, which was allow the people on the ground to let us know what they wanted us to do. So the fishermen said this, the businessmen said that, the teachers said whatever they needed, and that is what we took to be the mandate that we were using to go into the elections. That has not changed. The people on the ground in Tobago have not changed. Those of us who have been elected have not changed. It is literally only one man who decided to take the name of his organization and go with it. Those of us who are still managing the Tobago House of Assembly, who are still running the organization, governing the island, we have not shifted our focus, and the mandate that the people gave us is still exactly the same, which is what we've been executing.
With the principles and the mandates are more or less the same, is that the TPP, as you mentioned, is just a name change, just a shift?
Well, as we said, it last year, in the middle of all of the turmoil, late last year, the political leader, and he has actually changed his name on Facebook, founder and owner of PDP, decided that that was his organization and he was going to go with his organization. And we recognize that in Trinidad and Tobago, in politics, party politics is just kind of the way it is run here. So when we all resigned from the PDP, we knew that at some point we would have to regroup, we would have to give ourselves a name and so forth, which is what we took the time to do following all of the turmoil. So yes, the Tobago People's Party is really just the people in Tobago helping us, deciding for us, this is what we want you all to call yourselves. This is the symbol we want you all to use, and we are supporting you, because I'm not sure if you were following the process. Early this year, we did not, as in those of us who are in the Executive Council and in the THE, are not the ones who came up with the name. We pulled a large group of people together on one day, and we agreed, hey, this is the name you all want. Okay, these are several names that came up. Let's vote. There was literally a vote. And then we came together again, and the people said, well, this is the symbol we want. And there was literally a vote for that as well. So this is just us continuing the process of following the mandate of the people and building a political organization, probably for the first time in Trinidad and Tobago, where the people on the ground are the ones who built the organization, and we are just continuing with those mandates.
Following the mandate of the people, could we expand on that a bit? What is the TPP's development plan for Tobago? In fact, how does the TPP plan to improve the quality of lives for Tobagonians?
If you look at what has been happening on the island for the last year and a half, you would already see what has happened. We have already delivered more grants, more housing grants to the people of Tobago than probably ever before. We've already done more cataract surgeries than ever before. We've already been clearing gratuities and increments and so forth to teachers in the drones, millions of dollars. Simple things as building roads. We have already built more roads in the last year and 8 months than our predecessors for the last how many years they have been there. In every area, we have already begun developing the people of Tobago. And if you ask the man on the ground, they would actually tell you that they have been experiencing that kind of development. One of the things we changed very early up was improving the living wage for some of our lowest workers, lowest categories of workers. So, for example, we improved the salaries for CPEP and URP. That was one of the first things we did when we came in. When in Trinidad, they're still arguing about what those salaries should be. So as I said, the mandate is the things that we campaigned on, because it is literally only one person who has removed himself from that mandate. The rest of us are still very, very hard and fast. The rest of us are still focused on doing what Tobagonians elected us to do in December 2021.
Of course, I must, in this conversation this morning, bring up the A word, autonomy. In fact, the TPP's position in regards to pushing for greater autonomy, is that seen as a priority?
It certainly is, and it is a priority that we have inherited. It is certainly not a new thing. As a matter of fact, I was saying on the platform on Sunday that when I came back to Tobago in 2007, I actually started going to some of the consultations as related to constitutional reform and Tobago autonomy that was happening on the island between 2007 and today. So this has been something that I've been very familiar with. The things that we were fighting for when the last bill that they have simply placed, well, we don't even know where it is, because it was proved that it was just a political football. Just before the elections again, last in 2020, they placed a bill in front of the Joint Select Committee of Parliament. We were there front and center pushing for what Tobago and Tobagonians wanted. And right after that, we recognize again, they've put it down. Nothing has happened since then. So it is still front and center. All of the things that have been happening in Tobago makes it, we still think that it is front and center, because this is what we need to do to be able to manage the island in the way that we see fit. So definitely we are going hard and fast with the autonomy agenda.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. B. Israel, I'm assuming that when you inherited the role of, when you were sworn in as Deputy Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, it would have been your responsibility as well to push for autonomy. I know most recently the THA's office in Port of Spain, that was closed. Not much details as to all the circumstances surrounding that. However, isn't it really your responsibility for the greater push of autonomy? What would you say you've done over the course of the last 1.5 years?
Recognize the position of Deputy Chief Secretary was only thrusted on me when the former Deputy Chief Secretary decided that he no longer wanted the responsibility of doing anything for the people of Tobago. And I say that without fear of contradiction. The push for autonomy was never a single human being's responsibility. The push for autonomy is part of what we do in the Tobago House of Assembly. And we recognize that the method that we've been using for many, many years, because remember, this is something that has been on the table from way back when. All of our stalwarts have been talking about this. We've decided that we are not going to use the same mechanism that they've been using in the past. So, for example, a bill would come, there would be consultations. By the way, Tobagonians are really fed up of the cycle, where just before an election, a bill would come, there would be consultations, and then nothing after election happens. So we have actually been working in the background, as we've been doing with many other things, to get our legal house in order, looking at different options. And then when we come forward with the autonomy negotiations, you would recognize that we are doing it differently. But I would actually prefer not to speak about exactly what we are doing at this point, because we don't want to go down the same road of just talking about it, of just arguing about it, of just doing the same cycle over and over. As you've recognized, in many instances, when we are silent, it is because we are in the background doing the work to get what we need done. We've proven that time and time again, and the same thing will happen with this autonomy issue. We are not going to use the mechanisms that have been used before.
Now, I know that you cannot speak on behalf of Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, but he did indicate, as well as yourself, that the Tobago People's Party is at war with certain arms of the state, and that the TPP is to defend Tobago's interests. Could you just elaborate, please, on precisely what are these arms of state that you all are at war with?
So let me explain what happened. I'll give you my personal example. I am not sure that most of Trinidad recognizes that. I have been an elected official in the Tobago House of Assembly since 2017. I was the minority councillor in the Tobago House of Assembly from 2017, January, until December or so 2020. We contested the elections again in January 2021, that is when we had the 6-6. We contested again in December 2021, which is when we won. So I've been an assemblyman in the Tobago House of Assembly since January 2021. I am not sure that most people know that my house was actually raided. I was visited by police officers with a search warrant coming into my home, and the search warrant indicated that I was hired by the Tobago House of Assembly as a propagandist for the sole purpose of carrying out propaganda from November 2021. Anybody who knows me knows that that is furthest from the truth. And everybody who knows me knows that the information that is on that warrant has all been linked to the other parties trying to distract us, trying to ensure that we do what they wanted to do. It started way back when with a threat, and the Chief Secretary has spoken about this, with a threat from a particular contractor indicating that if we do not pay him monies that he claims he is owed, and that his friends in Trinidad also claim that he is owed, they would release, and I would be the one who say, an audio tape, the infamous audio tape that we are all now talking about. Stemming from that situation with the audio tape, it is very clear that those warrants that are being executed currently being executed on members of the Tobago House of Assembly, on public servants who've worked in the Tobago House of Assembly, on regular employees of the Tobago House of Assembly, are all linked to that plot, going back to trying to force us to pay a particular contractor monies that he claims that he is owed. All of this is stemming from the audit that we initiated very, very early when we came in and recognized that just before the election, hundreds of millions of dollars of worth of work was handed out. And now we have to figure out how much of that work was actually done, whether the process was legal or not, before we pay those contractors. So all of this is connected in that way. Yes, it is ridiculous that we are at the point. I am sure you have never heard of a situation in Trinidad and Tobago where an elected official is being, a house is being searched because they have been hired as a propagandist within the same organization that they were elected to govern, to manage. And those are the kinds of things that have been happening on the island for the last couple months. Maybe our issues that we've been too silent on the kind of persecution that we've been going through for the period.
Well, you used a term there, they're trying to distract us. There is an impression that the THA is very much distracted from its mandate. Would you say that is true, that it has caused great distraction?
It has caused, there's a lot of noise that has happened, but if you look at the secretaries and the assistant secretaries, if you look at the functioning of the THA, even in the midst of everything that has happened, there is no individual in Tobago who can honestly say that the function of governance in the Tobago House of Assembly has been affected. As a matter of fact, probably the only time the governance of Tobago has been affected has been within the last couple of weeks, when those same police officers have actually come to our divisions demanding that our public servants and our workers, instead of taking their time to do what they need to do normally, they've been spending time photocopying and trying to get records of individuals who are working in the divisions. They've been warrants. As a matter of fact, there was a warrant served on my division last week or the week before, requesting the employment records of another secretary, another duly elected assemblyman who is a secretary in another division. So that means that the people, the officers within the division had to take their time to be interrogated by the police on a matter that, if you ask any standard 5 student, any standard 5 social studies student, they will tell you, no, that person is not employed at health. That person is the Secretary of Education. That is basic social studies. So that is how the Tobago House of Assembly may have been distracted, because they are now forcing our officers to interact with the police, to be interrogated by the police, and wasting the time and resources of the Tobago House of Assembly. Other than that, those of us who are assemblymen, those of us who are secretaries and assistant secretaries, we have been steadfast. We have been focused on doing the works within our division. Yes, we go home at nights and we wonder why, we certainly do not deserve this kind of pushback, this kind of interrogation, this kind of invasion of our lives. But we were elected by the people, and we have to keep functioning on behalf of the people who elected us.
Dr. B. Israel, just before you go, I'm curious to know this division between Trinidad and Tobago, this increased tension between central government and the THA. It has not really been helped from either side. I believe on Sunday you also called on TPP supporters, and you could clarify this if the reporters got it wrong, to run anybody they see wearing a red jersey and trying to speak to them. You're quoted as saying they have now trained all their guns, figuratively and at times it seems literally, on the people of Tobago. Tobagonians, we are at war. Could the THA help this situation of division by trying to be the ones to show some level of unity?
When we came in with open arms. When we came in reaching out to all of the ministers. We came in trying our best to work collaboratively. The Chief Secretary would tell you, for example, that he has been having what we thought were cordial relationships with the Prime Minister. We tried, and even though we tried and we did our best, when we recognized what is happening to us, we would then, anyone who sees a police officers coming from Trinidad who obviously do not know anything about the Tobago House of Assembly, searching the homes of elected officials. Do you know that the home of the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly was actually searched as well, with a warrant that speaks to the most ridiculous things? And these are not those of us from Tobago doing it. This is an arm of the state that has been weaponized against an elected body of the Tobago people. But this is not a new fight. So this is not something new. This has always been the situation. When you go back to A&R Robinson and the fight between A&R Robinson and P&M and so forth. When you go back to Winston Murray, when you go back to all of the Tobagonian stalwarts who have stood up for Tobago, you would recognize that whenever so it's and I'm glad you said, you highlighted that I said those wearing red, because I I did not say Trinidad. I said specifically those wearing red, because this is a fight between the PNM, the People's National Movement, against Tobagonians. It's not a fight that just started, but it is a fight that they seem to be continuing. The only difference is that those of us who are members of the Tobago People's Party, those of us who are the elected officials of the Tobago House of Assembly, we are not rolling over and playing dead. We are not sitting back and saying, well, we've given up. We are pushing back, and that is probably what people are seeing. It's as if, you have two children who are there, and one is nudging, one is nudging, one is nudging, and when the person who has finally said enough is enough retaliates, that is what everybody sees, and everybody's now saying, oh, you should not have hit him. But you did not see when the other person was choking and poking and doing all of those things in the background. That is what we have been enduring, but we are not going to sit down. We are going to fight. I was elected to fight for Tobago, and that is what I am going to do. It is a war, PNM against Tobago. That is the fact.
But the Tobago House of Assembly and the Tobago People's Party will serve all of Tobago, even PNM supporters of Tobago.
And we have been serving all of Tobago. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we've gotten flack from our supporters is that we have not actually just cut the throats of those who are well-known PNMites. We have actually been getting cursed from our hardcore supporters that we still engage too much with people who they consider as PNM. And we have actually had to say to them, but no, when we got into government to serve all of Tobago. So it does not matter who anybody voted for. It does not matter. We are providing the service to everyone. When we are giving out grants, we are not asking, is that person a supporter or are they others? When we are giving hampers, when we are fixing a road, when we are giving out gratuity, we are not asking anybody about their political affiliation. We are doing it for the people of Tobago, and we will continue doing that.
Dr. Faith B. Israel, thank you very much for joining me on AM Prime this morning, making the time from your schedule to be with us. It's been quite some time, but we appreciate your presence. Do keep well and take care. All the very best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, there's a lot happening in Tobago, and we've just heard from the Deputy Chief Secretary, Dr. Faith B. Israel, joining us this morning, explain to us what they are experiencing, even in regards to police searching their homes, and what is even written on the warrant. She has indicated Tobago is at war with certain arms of the state, but she also said this is a fight between Tobago and the People's National Movement, though she has made it clear that they will continue with the mandate that has been set by Tobagonians and will serve all of Tobago, regardless of any Tobagonian's political affiliation. But the Tobago People's Party, is this going to be proved as a success, or is it just another political entity? Well, time will only tell. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here on AM Prime. When we return, we'll continue this morning's conversations.
We exposed 5 strangers to KFC's delicious chicken to see if any time could be KFC time. And at the first bite, the party began. We repeated the experiment during the day, during business hours, on weekends, with sunshine, with rain. And it's confirmed. KFC's flavor makes anytime KFC time. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Let the Home Store turn your house into a home you love. Get everything you need to give your home that special look and feel. We offer household items, lawn and garden, paint center, hardware, plumbing, lighting and electrical, toys and storage solutions. 5 convenient locations: 6th Avenue Barataria, The Falls at Westmall, Pennywise Plaza Shoguanas, C3 Center Branch and C3 San Fernando. Check out our Facebook page for more information and come visit us today. The Home Store. Turn your house into a home you love. FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
My name is Carl Media, and I'm the founder and the host of Ever Increasing Voice Ministries. Join me every Saturday and Sunday on WESN, this powerful station, at 9 a.m. on Saturdays, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. nightly. Also on Sundays, I'll be on at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at night time. When you come here, we are getting people heavenly ready.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to AM Prime. Now, TUCO, the Trinbago Unified Calypsos organization, actually holds their executive elections on August 19th. There are 3 candidates who are vying for the position of presidency. One of them is my guest this morning. He is a human resource consultant and Calypso historian, Dr. Rudolph Otley. Good morning, Dr. Otley, and welcome to AM Prime.
Morning, and thanks for having me on your program this morning.
Well, thank you for joining me, sir. I mean, the very first question anyone would ask a candidate heading for the position of president in any organization is precisely why you want to actually take up such a position. Why do you see yourself as being fit, both academically and particularly culturally, to hold this position?
Well, over the years I've been in TUCO. I am one of the foundation members of TUCO, having joined in 1993. And given my cultural research in Calypso over the last 40 years or so, where I've produced over 14 books on Calypso and the Calypso art form, and given the fact that I have also been an executive member in the past in TUCO, the marketing manager for over 6 years, I feel, and I'm also the owner of the world's only all-female Calypso tent, the Divas Calypso Cabaret International. I feel strongly qualified to be the leader of an organization that is currently going nowhere but downhill. And I think I have the acumen, the skills, the competencies to save Calypso, and more particularly save the Calypso tents and TUCO from the situation in which it is in right now.
Please expand on that. You're saying Save Mother Calypso, that's a part of your campaign, but also an organization of which you're seeing only going downhill. Precisely what credits or allows you to make such statements?
Well, the history is there. If you look at Calypso in the context of Trinidad over the last decade or so, but more so over the last 2 years, Calypso really has become marginalized in the cultural field. People seldom talk about Calypso. The Calypso tent is a perfect example of people's disinterest in the art form of Calypso. And therefore, if we continue to allow it to happen like that, or to exist like that, then eventually people will not even know what Calypso is or was about. And therefore, that's why I'm saying I have to get involved along with my team to save this art form, this glorious art form that was way before many of the other cultural art forms became known in Trinidad and Tobago. Our music, Calypso music, started the music of the New World. And therefore, we have to save this. It's a legacy we must allow to continue and not die. And that's why I feel that, given my experience, my academic training, my involvement, my research capabilities, my human resource capacity to lead people, I feel I'm truly fit to be the one to take it forward.
How does someone save an art form, let alone an institution, of which one could argue is not necessarily appreciated by society anymore?
And that's where we have to begin. We have to win the people's favor. We have to win the people's support. And to do that, we have to be producing material. We have to be involved in the whole social ecology. We have to not just produce calypsos on our own carnival time. We have to make a product that addresses all the issues in the society. And as calypsonians or people involved in calypso, we must also be part of the forefront of a social development, social revolution, bringing finances into the economy. You know, so we have to be involved. We have to be not just sit back and wait and to produce a song every once a year. We have to be actively involved or engaged in our cultural and socio-cultural landscape. And therefore, we have to begin in the school system. We have to get the powers that be to recognize the importance of calypso, both in terms of its lyrical content and the messages that we send out there, and therefore incorporate into our school system so the young ones could begin to understand and appreciate the music, and it will also, in terms, positively affect their behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Now, in regards to part of your campaign, you're also pushing to modernize Tuco, to take Tuco to an advanced state, because from what I've read, it's more or less being described as stagnant, at least in your opinion. How do you plan to advance Tuco's current structure and, by extension, current infrastructure?
Well, as I said, as my resume indicates, I am very much into human resource management and human resource policies, and the people-focused business. And one of the things we have to look at in Tuco is, do we have the personnel to fit moving the organization into the digitized world? Or what's the competency levels of our staff? That's the first thing, the administrative staff. And what's the competency levels also of our artists, our membership? How many of our college students own a computer or familiar with apps and those things? We have to ensure that, for example, during the pandemic, we weren't able to function because a lot of our membership didn't have the necessary tools to have Zoom meetings, and therefore that's one of the first things we have to do. We have to modernize the administrative structure of the organization so that we can become part of the modern society, the modern business society. Mm-hmm. We also have to ensure that our membership are skilled in those areas, utilize the importance of computer literacy. We have to ensure that we make links with the wider world, the Ministry of Digitization. They have to partner us in this, the Ministry of HR and the government organizations such as that. So it's basically reviewing our own situation, our own human resource situation, and putting the necessary things in place to address them and ensure that we move forward.
Dr. Otley, in your opinion, do you think there's a need to review the 1998 Act that incorporated Tuco?
Yes, that's important. It's very much important. It's very important in the context that it deals with the calypso tense. And somewhere along the line, there seems to be an anomaly whereby the Tuco's past executive felt that when the Act talks about calypso tense, it refers only to Tuco tense, and that's wrong. The Act talks about calypso tense in Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore that has a lot to do with the distribution of the subvention that the organization receives from the government. It should not be only, or the bulk of it should not be given to the Tuco tense only. It should be shared equally so that the landscape, the calypso tense landscape, there could be some sense of equity. And therefore, that will help to in improving the product, the Calypso 10 product, that has been devalued over the last decade or so.
Then arguably, Dr. Otley, it goes beyond the government. It also goes to corporate alliances and strategic alliances as well. Is that something of which you've already thought of?
Oh yes, in my days as a marketing manager of Tuco, we had some sound business and corporate relationships within our society, where the business members were part of our fabric. They assisted us in many projects. Over the last 5 years, I don't know what has happened, but the business community has shied away from Tuco. But I think it has a lot to do with the image of the organization, where, for example, even today, in 2023, Tuco is still in financial debt to the NCC, other corporate people, and there seems to be no way out for Tuco in terms of the debt, and therefore, obviously, there's a lack of a business plan to rid themselves of those kinds of financial responsibilities.
Dr. Otley, I'd like to get your opinion on this. From where you stand, how unified is the Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization?
I think maybe we may need to remove the word unified, but again, that's an ideal goal. We have unified, in certain areas we're unified, but when it comes to the Calypso season, that's when you see the disunity, where everyone is now fighting for a piece of the pie. But apart from that, the membership is really interested. The membership is really together in terms of ensuring that the art form continues to survive. But we need to get back to our rightful place in the society as a musical genre, as a cultural identity, cultural idiom, because Calypso is really the mother of all music. And we have to get back to that level and that prestige, that position. And therefore, unless we do the right things now, as I said before, maybe the art form might just disappear for a while.
Mm-hmm. So then, therefore, you are, in effect, describing this election called to take place on August 19th as perhaps the most important in Tuco's history.
I think so. I think this will determine the lifeline of Tuco. The person who ends up at the head of the organization will have a tremendous amount of work to do, both in terms of ensuring a way forward, but more importantly, is ensuring that the public perception of the organization and the corporate world can now buy into what Tuco is offering, and therefore ensure that we survive. And not only survive, initially we'll survive, but to ensure that we continue to move upward with the organization, and to ensure that the Calypso product becomes further accepted worldwide, because it has been accepted worldwide, but make sure it continues along that trend.
Dr. Otley, do you think the public is even interested in Tuco, or even knows that Tuco exists or what it stands for?
Yes, there's a segment of the population that's interested, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to run for the presidency, because we have become almost, as I said before, marginalized. We have become almost a second thought. We have become almost like people that say, okay, Tuco. And because we have not been engaging the public, not only in terms of our Calypso product, but in terms of the issues we deal with, how we confront some of the important social issues, and how do we engage not only our membership, but how do we extend solutions to some of the social issues that we have in the society, so that we must be more than just a Calypso producing organization. We must be part of the social fabric of the society, and by not only getting or taking from the society, but by giving back, not only giving back in terms of music, but in terms of strategies, policies, solutions.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Otley, I know you said not giving back much in terms of just music alone, but something that has not been given so much focus here in Trinidad and Tobago is music literacy. I don't think people even understand what music literacy is. Is that also one of the areas of focus of which Tuco needs to prioritize?
Very much so, and that. I'm glad you raised that, because that's very fundamental to the whole question of giving back. And music literacy, as you rightly mentioned, is very important in terms of, for example, some of the lyrics we have out of our calypsos. People might enjoy them just for the rhyming patterns or for the rhythm that emanates from them. But if we dig deeper and understand how the lyrics are put together and the messages that are inherent in the lyrics, we can have a whole social revolution in this society. our crime situation now. We have presented thousands of suggestions how to deal with crimes and criminals in the society, but no one takes us on. And just we have to kind of force our way and say, hey, to the powers that be, we have presented some solutions, some ideas to you all. Listen to our calypsos, listen to them in a way to find solutions. And therefore, we are saying we are more than just a music business. We are the business of saving this nation through our product, the calypso.
Well, we wish you all the very best in the election, but there's always the possibility that it does not necessarily work in your favor. Are you still willing to work with whomever is elected as president, and by extension the executive of TUCO? Are you still willing to share your thoughts, your opinions, even your experience on how to guide TUCO out of the state that you've described it as being currently in?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's not a matter of an egotistical pursuit or wanting to be the leader or not involved. Since, as I said, since 1993, I've been involved in TUCO in different areas, in different roles, and it has. And I will continue doing that, win or lose. Win or lose the election on Saturday. But the important thing, I think, what is critical now is leadership, because leadership, you have the responsibility of moving the organization in a particular direction, and also with developing alliances, which are so critical. And I feel I have the corporate support. I feel I have the membership support. But as you know, in elections, one win, one lose, and I'll accept the decision one way or the other.
Dr. Otley, in just about 20 seconds, your final thoughts, your closing message, sir.
My closing message basically is the membership to come out on Saturday. Let us work together as a team. Let us focus on what Calypso is, what Calypso has contributed to this whole world, where Calypso has been, and how do we, as a team, get together to save the art form, and more particularly save the product of Calypso and the Calypso tents, so that we can continue to provide not only entertainment but information to our society and to the world in general.
Dr. Rudolph Otley, all the very best on Saturday. The election is due to be held, and thank you very much for joining me this morning. Perhaps we can have a further discussion to dissect and perhaps analyze the election results later on. But for now, sir, all the very best to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, AM Prime now breaks for WESN's News on the Hour. But don't go anywhere, because guess what? There's more AM Prime after. We'll be right back.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I am Sarah Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. ABC Chief Election Officer responds to Kamla on special ballot irregularities. UNC requests to recount for 11 electoral districts. And regionally, fiery explosion kills 3 people and injured over 30 in the Dominican Republic. Now for the details. The Chief Election Officer at the Elections and Boundaries Commission, Fern Narcissus Scope, officially responded to a request made by the opposition leader, Kamla Prasad Bisasa, for an investigation into special ballot irregularities. In her response to the opposition leader, Narcissus Scope explained that there was no provision in the election rules for the sealing of the ballot boxes at special polling stations established by the Commission in accordance with the Election Rules 76 of the Representation of the People's Act, Chapter 201. Narcissus Scope advised that it had become the practice for special presiding officers to use ballot boxes to transport the sealed envelopes but there is no requirement in law to either use ballot boxes or to seal them. Narciscope added that her investigations revealed that as required by law, all the special envelopes are sealed by the special presiding officer, and for matters of safety and security in the transportation, all boxes were locked. In the second complaint made by the opposition leader that the ballots cast at the Sandigrani police station were not packaged according to the standard procedure so that the names of some electors could be viewed by the EBC staff who were responsible for sorting the votes and sending them to the respective electoral districts. Narciscope said her investigations revealed that the 11 covering envelopes with the declaration of identity of the special electors as required by Election Rule 71 were placed in the ballot box at that location, which was then locked and sealed. The United National Congress requested 11 out of 13 recounts received by the EBC. In a media release issued by the Elections Boundaries and Commission, all recounts will begin at 3 p.m. today at the office of the returning officer for the electoral district where the recount was requested. Regionally, a powerful explosion rocked a bustling market near the capital of the Dominican Republic on Monday, killing at least 3 people and injuring more than 30 others as people tried to flee amid the chaos. Authorities said the explosion occurred at a bakery in the city of San Cristobal, which lies just west of Santo Domingo, the country's 911 system said in a statement. Charred cars and debris from several collapsed buildings lined the streets as thick black smoke rose from the city center and enveloped several blocks, prompting businesses to evacuate while crowds gathered to film the aftermath. Some said they thought it was a bomb or an earthquake. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Sarah Ali. Thanks for watching.
We exposed 5 strangers to KFC's delicious chicken to see if any time could be KFC time. And at the first bite, the party began. We repeated the experiment during the day, during business hours, on weekends, with sunshine, with rain. And it's confirmed. KFC's flavor makes any time KFC time. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Let the home store turn your house into a home you love. Get everything you need to give your home that special look and feel. We offer household items, lawn and garden, paint center, hardware, plumbing, lighting and electrical, toys and storage solutions. 5 convenient locations: 6th Avenue Barataria, The Falls at West Mall, Pennywise Plaza Shoguanas, C3 Center Branch and C3 San Fernando. Check out our Facebook page for more information and come visit us today. The Home Store. Turn your house into a home you love.
Trinidad and Tobago is in the middle of Steel Pan Month, celebrating the steel pan, of course, our national instrument. But did you know that in the United Nations in New York, on the 3rd floor of the General Assembly, there are 2 steel pans which sit there on display? They were gifted to the United Nations in 1995 by CARICOM. And nearly 3 decades later, the United Nations declared August 11th as World Steel Pan Day. Global recognition, global attention. But what's next for our beloved instrument? And what is in the works currently? Well, I'm joined this morning by the head of Pan Trinbago, Ms. Beverly Ramsey-Moore. She's with us via Zoom. Good morning, Ms. Ramsey-Moore, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, a very good morning to you, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, all you steel pan enthusiasts and all our member bands, and for all those, and to the outside world that is giving so much support to our national musical instrument.
Certainly, Dr. Ramsey-Moore. In fact, was increased global interest and increased global attention something that the organization was actually preparing for?
Definitely, definitely. Since 1951, pan left these shores, the steel pan left these shores to go to the festival in Britain. And since then, we are extremely grateful to those members of the diaspora who have been ensuring that there is the awareness and promotion of our pan in those countries abroad. And today we have seen over 40 countries with steel bans, and we continue to provide that kind of support to ensure that all around the world that this instrument will be embraced. And that is why we are extremely grateful to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for ensuring that that declaration was passed at the United Nations. A lot of work went into it. We thank our line minister, Senator the Honorable Randall Mitchell, and for all those groups in Trinidad and Tobago that were part of the advocacy to have this done. And so we have over 84 countries that would have signed on and supported the resolution even before it went before the General Assembly. And so now there is much more awareness, and Trinidad and Tobago must make use of the opportunity to grow and develop the industry in itself, the manufacturing sector, the service sector. We now have to work assiduously to ensure that having a day where where the focus is on us. Therefore, we must prepare ourselves to enter these markets, to do business, and to grow our foreign exchange here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, Dr. Ramsey-Moore, I'm quite glad that you phrased it.
Is it that you're saying doctor?
Yes, actually, my apologies. It's stuck in my head. But it's just from the previous interview. But actually, I'm glad that you phrased it that way, because my next question would have been, how is it that Pan Trinbago plans on capitalizing on this opportunity?
Well, definitely, our business is to inspire and stimulate our producers. Our business is to ensure that they are ready for business. Now, we expect that pan will now, the export market for pan is going to take off. All the socio-economic factors will come together as we propel this instrument, not only here in the Caribbean, in our country, and in the Caribbean, but in all the continents. When you think of now that in Trinidad and Tobago we have a manufacturing company, Midco, that is producing pans on a large scale, we see more business opening up. We see our arrangers and our tuners, we are going to inspire them, get ready, get into the market. You know, I was just talking with our tuner recently. He's also a producer, and he's saying, I am going out of the country. I am going abroad to do schools. A number of schools would have asked him to come, and so he's leaving here on Sunday to go abroad to do schools. It is going to happen much more for our tuners. They are going to be called upon because the best sounding pan is a Trini pan. No matter who making this pan, Trinidad and Tobago have the sweetest pans in the world. And so we expect the education sector for those who want pans in school. So we expect our teachers, those who teach music, to go abroad. We expect the accessories, those who are providing the pan sticks and the pan cases and all the accessories to go with it. They too are going to find a way as we open up new doors. And that is what we are going to do from a Pan Trinbago perspective. We are going to work closely with the stakeholders, and because we want them to get ready. There is going to be a boom in the industry.
I think you're hitting all the right notes this morning. The best sounding steel pan in the world is a Trini steel pan. But,
correct.
But you've also mentioned something previously, which is actually even increasing foreign exchange, increasing opportunity. Is it that there are already export markets that are opening up and perhaps already opened and available for TNT to exploit?
Correct. even within recent times, we, from a Pan Trinbago perspective, we would get together with the Tuners Guild. We export pans, we've sold pans to Montserrat. These Caribbean countries have been approaching us, and they are benefiting from grant funding so that they can put ensembles in various schools, in churches, and all of that. And now we see where much more of our pans are going abroad, and we encourage that. We like what we are seeing happening. People reach out to us because they believe that we have the best pans, and we will continue is the marketing and promotion. And so in doing that, we expect the necessary governmental agencies to come on board. As I said, under Minister Paula Gopi-Schoon, there is a steering committee that has been put in place to take an in-depth look into the industry, the steel pan industry. And that steering committee is led by Mr. Mark Lukwana. We have Professor Clement Imbert and a number of stakeholders. Pan Trinbago has 2 representatives on that committee. And so the government is seeing what is taking place. And as such, the steps are being put in place to further develop this industry. You're paying something like $5,000 US abroad for one steel pan. And I think if we continue with that awareness and that promotion and marketing, one of the things that we from Pan Trinbago will be putting in place early in the new year is our steel pan ambassadors abroad. We expect that those ambassadors will be working closely with the missions, Trinidad and Tobago missions abroad, to ensure that we promote this awareness about this beautiful instrument that we have given as a gift to the world. And so it is very, very, very important that we look at the financial aspects so we can have more foreign exchange coming into this country. And so we are extremely grateful for that steering committee that the government has put in place, and that is going to take an in-depth look, and we have already started working, and I can assure you in a year's time you're going to see a significant difference with respect to the growth of the steel pan industry. And I should also mention that events tourism, festival tourism, is another big way that impacts and drives the economy here in Trinidad and Tobago. And so with this awareness about this steel pan, the greatest show on earth, which is Carnival, with panorama playing, is one of the factors, or I should say the panorama being that component in the Carnival. People will definitely want to come to see these players, over 100 players on stage. That is something that we can look forward to, an influx of persons coming to Trinidad and Tobago. Now that they know of this instrument, they are going to come to see those big bands on stage, and not even that, the single pan bands, which are the nucleus of the steel pan community. I am sure too they will want to see that pan around the neck, and that encouragement. It will also allow for pan as community soul, those bands in the various communities, to now be putting on their own demonstration when the cruise ships come in. Let them find themselves in packages at our panyards so we can tell the story, because the story is ours.
The story is ours, but does the world understand that? I like what I'm hearing, but of course I must also recognize one of the biggest faults of Trinbagos, which has been argued constantly, is that we never truly made the steel pan our own. For example, even intellectual property rights. Is there a need, because you mentioned the steering committee as well, for there to be greater, I suppose, geographical indicators that the steel pan is TNT zone?
Well, you have touched, like you are a prophet. You've seen what is happening. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, at this time, with working together with all the producers and other stakeholders, that is something that we are looking at this time. I can tell you that the conversation is happening, and very soon that will be accomplished in terms of the geographical indication for the national instrument. I am also a part of those discussions. Pan Trinbago is a part of those discussions, and so we are working closely with the ministry. At least the ministry is the lead with respect to that. There, we have a consultant from abroad who is guiding the process, and it is so far the work is moving along smoothly, and I believe that is something that we are going to accomplish early next year.
No.
So you're quite right. It is happening at this time.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to more good news next year. But in regard also, we constantly speak about PAN in schools, we speak about PAN education, but one thing that is not often spoken about, at least within media, I haven't heard about this, and I'm wondering if you can highlight it this morning, is with regard to the actual production of steel pan music, the importance of how steel pan is actually recorded, how it is packaged, how it is sold. The world is now paying attention to steel pan even more than before, given World Steel Pan Day. Is there also a need for us to have a better, a more critical approach in how we record, how we package, and how we sell steel pan music?
Definitely. Definitely. This is something that we must work on. Much more work is needed. I think that is a challenge that we have in terms of the recording, even the sound. A lot more work needs to be done in that area, and the discussion is happening. That is a part of what we are doing on the steering committee. And I really, I mean, as someone who manages a band, sometimes, you know, based on even how they set up this microphones for the music and all of that, much more work has to be done in that area. And I want to assure you that the steering committee is paying close attention to that, because we have a representative on board, and that is his profession. So he is guiding us with respect to that. And so the work continues. But I want to let you know that, yeah, we are lacking in that area, and we will continue to massage and continue until we find the right way to do this.
Now, former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, he actually in 1992 made this declaration that this is our national instrument. It has not been formally declared, though, through a parliamentary proclamation, and I'm wondering if that also is something that Pan Trinbago is pushing for.
Yes, we have been working assiduously with our line minister to have this done. Because in 1992 is a very long time when Cabinet took the decision to have Pan declared the national musical instrument. And we've had people like Henry Harper and a lot of persons advocating to have this done. Since I've became president of Pan Trinbago, we've been working, my team, we've been working with the ministry, our minister, and he has been doing the investigation as to the best way forward to have it declared by our head of state coming through the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. So the investigation has been done. I've seen a draft bill. We've sent that draft bill to our lawyer. Senior Counsel Martin Daly would have advised us on that. We've sent back the recommendation to the minister, and I know up to recently he has been liaising with Parliamentary Council, and so we expect to hear something very soon on that. Yes.
Well, Ms. Bethany Ramsey-Moore, we're in the middle of a month, a significant month. Not only are we celebrating independence in 2 weeks' time, but it is Steel Pan Month here in TNT. So, do you think that it'll also lead to a greater appreciation? Because, you know us, we here in Trinbago, we tend to have our eyes a lot more open to what's taking place around the world and the trends being set around the world. And now that the steel pan has been recognized by the United Nations through World Steel Pan Day, do you think that will also allow for greater appreciation amongst Trinbagonians for our national instrument?
Of course. Well, I must say that Trinidadians and Tobagonians, they love the instrument. And within recent times, you know, we have been able to create that enabling environment to make pan a lot more palatable, and also in terms of the organizational structure to restore credibility here in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of how we run our operations. And because of that, we see all of our shows a huge turnout. What we need to do is to monetize that, because Trinidadians and Tobagonians believe pan is waiting, and it's because it is waiting for free. So that is one of the challenges we have with Winston's Priest-time on children. When they come down from the hill, pan is mine, pan is yours. And so, but in terms of the turnout for our events, we do have a significant number. For Panorama, we have seen a huge increase in gate receipts and all of that for Panorama. So Trinidad and Tobago, they appreciate the instrument. What we must do now is to find new ways to monetize our events, new ways to attract the young people in particular. And you mentioned the pan in schools, because whilst you have over 5,000, 6,000 young people playing the instrument, we need to see much more of them turning up at the events. So what we have been doing within recent times, we have been using pan now to play the music in a different way. So it's not that you're gonna once you come to a pan party or a pan event, you see now where you have steel bands wheeling like DJs and coming again. So we have found a new approach to present the music to attract the young people. And so that too will augur well for the organization and for the member bands.
Well, a lot more opportunity. You sound very pumped, very positive this morning.
Yes.
So it's only a positive trajectory from here. Correct.
Positive. And so that is why we believe that, listen, you have to speak things into being. I mean, when we came in as a new executive, it was very challenging for us, and many times so, even though there is a mission and a vision statement in Pan Trinbago, there are a few words that we held on to. Prosperity in Pan. And so we just kept repeating that mantra all the time. Prosperity in Pan. Financial prosperity, social prosperity. Pan is community soul. Pan is Trinidad and Tobago. So when you speak things into the atmosphere, then goodness and greatness will follow you. And so that is what we are doing at this time, because we can use Pan to change our communities. We can use Pan to at least drive community businesses. And so we are going to continue to work. We look forward to all the other events that we have coming up. All the events we have coming up. Today we have the Northern Region. They are going to have the health fair, because that is something that we must check on. We have a lot of senior citizens that follow PAN, and so today we are going to talk about healthy lifestyle from 5 p.m. at the VIP lounge, and people can come out, get your blood pressure checked, get your sugar checked, sugar levels checked. All of that is going to happen. And then on Friday, we have a single pan jam in the fish fry, which is going to be happening at Caronage Fish Fry from 6 p.m. And then on Sunday, we have our Thanksgiving service and the blessing of the flags and the opening of our new office, our corporate office, which is on 55 Dundonald Street, Port of Spain. And so we are asking the general public, come down and support your bands. We are going to be blessing flags. We are going to be opening up your new office that we are so proud of, to see Pan Trinbago now in a corporate space. That is going to be happening on Sunday. And then next week, Wednesday, it is going to be another great Wednesday night in August. We are going to have Pan and Powder Street Parade. I tell you, last year it was a great event. This year is going to be even greater. So on Wednesday evening at City Hall, we have 3 bands performing at City Hall. And on the road, we have Massey Trinidad All Stars, Exodus, and Phase 2. They are going to be the bands that will be taking us from City Hall to the Savannah. And at the Savannah, we have Renegades, Cats and Jammers from Tobago, Hoover Joylanders, and the Fun Clay, and LCB Fun Clay. It is going to be pan on the streets. It's going to be just wear white and come, and I hope to see you there.
Well, I can tell you one thing. You've said all of that. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But the things that captured my attention the most, you see fish fry and steel pan, you can't get better than that. So I think
that's right. And that's on Friday. That's going to be amazing.
Well, before we bid farewell, Ms. Ramsey Moore, again, positive trajectory, but I will bring up one thing that I think has been questioned many a times, and that is even attracting Trinbagonians. I know you mentioned marketing, you mentioned monetizing the instrument more. We need to look at those opportunities, but even attracting Trinbagonians to the steel pan music, even to Panorama, Panorama is, that attention isn't really there. Is there more, or is discussions already taking place for that level of attraction?
We have been having Panorama, which is the biggest festival because it's in Carnival, but we have declared in Pan Trinbago that there is no season for Pan. And as such, we have activities throughout the year because we see Pan as a vehicle for social transformation. We see our panyards as safe and sacred spaces. We see it as spaces of empowerment. We see the spaces that is going to attract the family because we say Pan is intergenerational. It brings everybody together. It's happy music, and it can be used to unite the country and to unite the world. And we have been having events. Immediately after Panorama, we went into Pan in the 21st Century, which is having steel pan play different genres of music, world music. We've had that event here. And out of that, we move into different events every single month in the various regions. As you know, we have 4 regional bodies. Those are our local government bodies. And so they are doing things all the time. We cannot rest. And as long as we know for a fact that Trinidad and Tobago is behind us 100%, we are going to continue to use this instrument to bring about social change and to ensure that we stand very solid on in a financial position that will ensure that our members benefit and the country benefits. And so that is what we are about. So we are not just a Panorama organization, we are a community-based organization. We are a very important organization to Trinidad and Tobago. We too can play our role as an NGO to assist in the governance of this nation by using the steel pan as a tool for social transformation, growth and development, youth empowerment, women empowerment. That's what we are about, and we are going to continue to do the work.
A fitting way to conclude this morning's conversation. Ms. Beverly Ramsey Moore, thank you very much for joining me on the program, for highlighting all that is planned and all that is already being worked towards. And, well, again, I'll see you on Friday for some fried fish and steel pan music.
Yes, correct. Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ms. Beverly Ramsey Moore, President of Pan Trinbago, joining me this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for AM Prime. Thank you very much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure. It's dark, it's wet, it's windy outside. Please, as we all carry about our daily duties and responsibilities, do your best to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself dry, and of course, not to get into any trouble. Let's make Trinbago a bit sweeter by doing our part, by being mature, by being responsible citizens, by being clean-minded citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. And tomorrow morning from 6 a.m., you can join me again for AM Prime. But until then, be safe, be well. I'm Keaton Shaw. Bye-bye.
wesn.
Let the home store turn your house into a home you love. Get everything you need to give your home that special look and feel. We offer household items, lawn and garden, paint center, hardware, plumbing, lighting and electrical, toys and storage solutions. 5 convenient locations: 6th Avenue Barataria, The Falls at Westmore, Pennywise Plaza Shoguanas, C3 Center Branch and C3 San Fernando. Check out our Facebook page for more information and come visit us today. The Home Store. Turn your house into a home you love.
Tuesday, August the 15th, Talking Point welcomes you to a special edition of the program as we focus on local government elections 2023. With the issues in TNT affecting us all, every vote counts. Join us for a national discussion as we analyze the results and assess the impact of the elections. With yours truly, Sean Michael Small, my co-host Keaton Shah, and a special guest lineup that will have you covered. August the 15th, 8 a.m. Talking Point is only on WESN, your content capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
My name is Carl Media, and I'm the founder and the host of Ever Increasing Voice Ministries. Join me every Saturday and Sunday on WESN, this powerful station, at 9 a.m. on Saturdays, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. nightly. Also on Sundays, I'll be on at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at night time. When you come here, we are getting people heavenly ready.
This city can't hold me, my vibe's too high, and my heart it told me jump right now, you will touch the sky. Feel my love unfolding like a laughing flame. All who did not know me when not done, they gon' know the name. Million people coming down, dancing to a song. Love is life and life is love, blessings from above. Can you feel the love that's in the air? Well, if you feel it, let me hear you say, dancing, moving, moving everywhere. If you feel it, let me hear you say, na 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 na, eh na 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 na.
When I lost and can't find my way, is your love help me elevate? And when they try to block, I still come again. It's the way you lift me up, I could never give it up, no.
This is the way we celebrate independence. This is how it should be done. An event like this brings everybody out. All different race, creed, everything. This is our country. And how is the best way to celebrate our independence? With our national anthem. The vision I had 6 years ago, trying to make people happy. We started this event not to stop. this event must continue. And at independence, we could celebrate it together as a country. Even though the hard thing, the struggles, we will always remain together as one people. Thank you.
You gave us the inspiration to be first. We gave you the solutions that put you first. You walked with us side by side, and we continue to serve you with pride. First Citizens celebrates with you 30 years of achieving dreams, shaping success stories, and painting brighter futures together. And together, we'll accomplish so much more. First Citizens, together, 30 and beyond.
We are WESN, the premier platform for Caribbean content. WESN, covering West, East, South, and North. WESN, we entertainment, sports, and news. WESN, available on Greendot 7, Amplia 118, Airlink 17, Bmobile 107, Digicel 21, ICNTT 105, and Flow 110. Connect with us at WESNCC or stream online at www.wesncc.com. WESN, your premier platform for Caribbean content.
Here in Lutsk killed and injured several people. The Russian strikes also caused damage in parts of eastern Ukraine. A sports complex and an enterprise were hit in an attack on Dnipro, according to the city's governor. At least 2 people were injured. Closer to the front line, villages in the Zaporizhzhia region were also hit by strikes.
And another hot spot on the conflict is the Black Sea. Last month, Russia withdrew from a deal that allowed Ukraine to export grain and has since targeted Kyiv's grain infrastructure. Now, Moscow has threatened to also attack Ukrainian ships that set off from ports in the south. And for more on this, I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Philip Turl. Philip, good to see you. So, a Ukrainian container ship set off from Odessa this Wednesday to test that threat. When we talk about this word test, what exactly do we mean?
Okay, well, just a reminder that the Black Sea grain deal, which was signed a year ago, is now no longer in effect due to the fact that Russia withdrew from it last month. 47 million people have been affected by the war in Ukraine around the world, and as a result of the fall in the supplies of grain being exported from Ukraine. That was the figure for last year once the war started. That was obviously a much better figure when the Black Sea deal was signed. Now that Russia's pulled out, Ukraine is left with all this grain that it needs to export, and Russia is always threatening to attack the ships because it doesn't know if those ships are carrying military hardware or not, or weapons, or are supporting the war effort on Ukraine's side. So what Ukraine has said this time round is, well, there's this Hong Kong registered ship, which is called the Joseph Schulte, which has been in the port of Odessa in southwestern Ukraine since February last year, just a day before the war broke out. And they're going to test it to see if the ship can get past the Russian threat in the Black Sea and down through the Bosphorus Strait to export that grain, that much-needed grain, which is needed by many countries around the world. What Ukraine is saying is that this ship is going to be given full clearance from us, and all the necessary documents and paperwork will show that it has no military threat, and therefore Russia has no reason to attack it. It's stacking the pressure on Russia for two reasons. First of all, that Russia knows that Ukraine is like the breadbasket of Europe and has to export that grain to support countries around the world. And there is also pressure on Russia to do that, because even if some countries support the war effort, they know that the fall in the supply of grain to countries around the world from Ukraine will cause famine and hardship, and they want that to be avoided at all costs. So that is, I think, what Ukraine is playing at here. Let's get that grain out and see whether Russia is going to attack that ship or not.
Yeah, so we'll be watching that closely. In the meantime, Ukraine has recaptured a village in the south of the country. How significant is this?
Well, it's a small advance for Ukrainian forces. Remember, this counteroffensive has been dragging on for quite a while now and has not produced the fruits that many thought were going to be produced once it started. No one, I think, was expecting a rapid recapturing of all the territories that Russia has taken since the start of the war. But Ukraine does need some kind of good news to bolster its forces and its morale. So the fact that this town, Eurozane, has been captured in the southeast of the country is good for several reasons. First of all, psychologically, it's good news for the Ukrainian forces. Ukraine has pushed back the Russians, which shows a certain disarray amongst the way the Russian forces are organized in the region. They can say, well, look, we're not advancing quickly, but we're advancing slowly but surely, and we are progressing. So that is good news for Ukraine. And there is another aspect which I think is also important to underline, is that the capture of a town like this, which may seem small and insignificant, even if it's only a few kilometers, will force the Russians into some kind of dilemma, because they then have to decide, well, this is on the road to Mariupol in southeastern Ukraine. It also could open up a front further east towards Donetsk. What are the Ukrainians going to do after that? Does that mean we have to be very careful about which roads we are going to protect? Will we have to pull forces from other areas of Ukraine to try to stop another advance by Ukrainian forces? So I think it's also putting the pressure on Russian troops, putting them in a dilemma about what to do. And that is, I think, part of the strategy of Ukraine right now. They've advanced by about 12 kilometers in the past 2 months. It doesn't appear to be much, but in Ukraine's eyes, this is still proof that we are still advancing, and it's not Russia which is pushing us the other way so far.
Okay, International Affairs Editor Philip Churl. Philip, thanks as always. Next to Hawaii, where recovery efforts continue after wildfires on Maui killed at least 106 people. That makes it the deadliest fire disaster in the U.S. in more than a century. Efforts to identify some of the victims has been difficult, and some survivors are still waiting news about their missing loved ones. Brian Quinn gets us up to date.
U.S. Marines land on Maui, joining the National Guard, Coast Guard, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as recovery efforts continue. In the historic seaside town of Lahaina, nearly every building is destroyed. Entire neighborhoods now nothing but rubble and ash. As volunteers work to provide basic necessities, survivors are struggling to process the aftermath of the U.S.'s deadliest wildfire in more than a century.
I was devastated. I was a wreck. I needed mental health, and I considered myself a strong leader, but it broke me. It still breaks me. This is what keeps me going, helping people. A lot of us are at that stage.
Officials on the island say that as of Monday, only a quarter of the disaster zone had been fully searched for bodies. The death toll is expected to rise. Hundreds of people are believed still missing. Many residents have expressed frustration at an apparent lack of official disaster preparedness. Warning sirens failed to sound as the fire bore down on the town, with road closures trapping drivers as they tried to flee and fire hydrants running out of water.
Nothing would make us more pleased if we couldn't go back in time and have a lot more protection from sirens. We will do all we can to get more water. We will do all that we can to get more warnings for people.
Investigations are currently underway into the cause and response to the fire. High winds and drought worsened by climate change, along with the rapid spread of flammable invasive grasses, have made wildfires a growing concern on Maui in recent years.
Next to the mounting legal trouble for Donald Trump, federal prosecutors have reportedly gained access to his private messages on Twitter as he faces indictment for his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Now, he has been criminally indicted 4 times. The latest case is in Georgia, where he has just 9 days to turn himself into authorities. And complicating all of this, Trump remains the leading Republican candidate in next year's presidential race. Brian Quinn has the story.
91 criminal charges across 4 jurisdictions. Monday's indictment of Donald Trump is only the latest in a litany of litigations for the former president. In Georgia, Trump and his 18 alleged co-conspirators face a raft of charges, including racketeering, for their myriad efforts to strong-arm Georgia officials into changing the results of the 2020 election.
The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
In March, a grand jury in New York City charged Trump with falsifying business records, covering up hush money payments to former porn star Stormy Daniels as she threatened to go public with details of an alleged affair in the run-up to the 2016 presidential election. Trump pleaded not guilty to 34 counts. In June, he pled not guilty to 40 felony counts in a federal court in Florida. There, he's accused of illegally holding on to highly classified government documents after leaving office, storing them haphazardly at his private residences, and lying to officials who sought to recover them.
Today,
early August saw special counsel Jack Smith unveil 4 federal felony charges in Washington, D.C. against Trump for trying to defraud the U.S. by overturning his 2020 election defeat. Accusations of conspiracy and obstruction that culminated in the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol as a mob of Trump supporters sought to prevent Congress from certifying Biden's victory. But it's Georgia that may present the most legal and political danger for Trump. As a state case, he will be unable to quash it or pardon himself even if he wins back the presidency next year. And the trial is likely to be televised in the midst of presidential primary season.